But if you give yourself a realistic goal and you say, I'm gonna work out for 8 weeks,
Right.
you can do that. Because before you know it, week 1's done, week 2 is done. You're like, I'm cruising. I'm almost halfway through with this thing. And then boom, and when you set a goal for yourself, like let's say working out for 8 weeks, and you accomplish that goal, you're ready to make another goal.
But this crash dieting, the worst thing it does is really down-regulates people's what's called sex hormones. And that's not me being sarcastic. These are the hormones that are very important for health, healthy metabolism, healthy sex drive, hair growth, muscle growth, and all those things.
So you're just messing with so much stuff by doing that.
Body is smarter than you are. So if you with it, it's gonna with you back. We would all love to store the fat from stress that you just talked about, Nick, in our face. I know I would, because I have such a narrow face. I'd love to have a little fat face.
But unfortunately, it goes right to the love handles, it goes right to the gut, right?
Yeah, because that's
the places you don't want.
Yeah, that's our center, that's where all our organs are, and the body's trying to protect itself from our stupidity of over-dieting and over-exercising.
And just like that, we're back. You were on vacation. How was it?
It was good, Nick.
You know, you look like you got a little sun, but hopefully some healthy sun.
Yeah, I don't know how, because I had the bucket hat on, Nick. I swear to God, I don't know. I came back to the room, I was a little pink around here. I had 50 block on, I had the bucket hat. If anybody hasn't seen, I got diagnosed with skin cancer. So I'm like scared of the sun at this point, but I had 50 block on, a bucket hat, and an umbrella. And I still somehow, some way, I don't know if it's the reflection from the sand underneath, so that sun will get you one way or the other.
Imagine if you hadn't been wearing the 50 block and the hat, right? You would have got you screwed.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you enjoyed yourself and you got good weather, I assume?
Yeah, we did. And that brings us to today's video. I think we're going to talk about getting in shape for that beach, right?
That's right, because the summer is coming and people think it might be too late. If you missed, your New Year's resolution and you got through all the winter and you worked out once or twice and you gave up on it, people might right now be feeling like it's too late to get in shape for the summer. And I have a message for them. It's not too late. You can still start right now and achieve some goals by the time we get to July and August when you want to hit that beach.
Right. So what do you think, like by the time we hit the beach, especially like in the New York area, and then people listen a little older, but what do you got, like 8 weeks now?
You got about 8 weeks. Yeah, and I feel like you can get a lot accomplished in 8 weeks.
Sure, absolutely, especially if they're listening to our stuff, man. It's real. We got the magic.
And today we're going to talk about, dietary changes you can make in those 8 weeks, exercise changes you can make in those 8 weeks, and motivation changes that you can make in those 8 weeks to get yourself to a point where you're looking good and feeling good. Maybe not at your final goal, but feeling better than you feel right now, looking better than you feel right now, and feeling more confident.
Absolutely.
I think that's important.
Let's do it, brother. Let's unpack this for the people so they can be shredded, ripped, lean, muscular, and say, it's all because of Nitro Nick on the LynchFit podcast. Let's do it, brother.
So I think one of the first things I wanted to mention, and we have talked about this many times, but I wanted to let people know what a realistic amount of weight that they can be losing, right? In this next 8 weeks, let's just say, before the summer, but in general, really in any amount of time, in a week, in a month. What should people be looking at as a target weight loss for every week or every month or something like that?
There's two different people that we'll speak to.
Right.
Let's talk about people that are way off the base of where they should be.
Somebody who's 50 pounds or more overweight.
A lot of these people, Nick, have high insulin levels in their body, and high insulin levels will result in what's called edema, swelling, and you can get pitting edema in the ankles if you ever wore
Which is like water weight?
Yes. If you've ever wore tight dress socks and taken them off and you still have the ring 20 minutes later, half an hour later, that is not a good thing. That's the edema, the fluid pooling in the ankles because it's the furthest thing from the heart, okay? So if somebody has that and they're a lot of water weight, the first week or two, especially if they adopt a low-carb diet, I think we have carb cycling video coming up next week, right? If they take their carbs and they lower their carbohydrates and the insulin levels come down and they start to exercise, these people sometimes, Nick, can lose the first week or two 10, 15 pounds.
Because they're not losing fat or muscle, they're losing a lot, maybe a little bit of that, but they're losing water weight.
Mostly is that edema, which is very healthy. They have to be mindful if they're doing a lot of urinating. They have to be mindful to add electrolytes to their food, because that shedding of that fluid can cause you to have low electrolytes and maybe make you feel a little dizzy.
And let me just say, that doesn't mean start drinking sugary drinks that say they're electrolyte drinks, right? It might mean putting a little salt in your water, or it could mean having like a no sugar hydration drink or something like that.
That is correct. Either salt or both. So a little salt on your food, good quality sea salt or something like that, and an electrolyte drink. And that's only if you feel it. And some of the things to look for would be heart palpitations, a little bit of dizziness when you stand up quickly, a little fluttering of the heart, or just feeling overall weakness and malaise. A little electrolytes would remedy that problem. So for those people, the first week or two, you can look. Some people can lose 15 to 20 pounds of edema. Now, obviously, this is a very unhealthy place to be, but so be it.
But these are people, again, who probably haven't been working out, who haven't been dieting, and they can really see a dramatic change. I believe they call it the newbie effect.
Yeah,
It literally is, because these people, if they really put their mind to it and decide to make a change for exercise and diet, you can really see, significant changes in the first few weeks.
the second subset of people is going to be generally fit people that maybe lost their way, haven't exercised or whatever.
Couple 10, 15 extra pounds on, they're not going to lose that much in the first week or two.
That big, huge drop.
Right.
A lot of our viewers are probably already exercising already, so it's going to be that 1 to 2 pounds. But do the math. 8 weeks, 2 times 2, most people can accomplish 2 pounds. 16 pounds, man. 16 pounds is a significant amount of body.
Yeah, you lose somewhere between 10 and 16 pounds in those 8 weeks. You're going to feel amazing.
That's huge. That's huge. And so those are the two people I would think about. And those people that get that big drop in the beginning, they'll level off to about that 2 pound mark as well. So they might get that huge push in the beginning, but then it should shake out to about a pound or 2. And that's going to be, if you get more than that, past those first 2 weeks, you're actually sacrificing your muscle mass, and you'll actually look worse on the beach. So, and people get caught up, and women are the worst with this, but men too. They get caught up into the scale. So somebody may lose 20 pounds opposed to 15, but they actually look better 5 pounds heavier, because now they're dehydrated, they lost muscle, they kind of look gummy and saggy looking. So it's not that it's a bad or a good thing. That is what healthy weight loss should look like, 1 to 2 pounds.
Right.
So that's what they want to look for.
Now, the other thing about this next 8 weeks is that people, on average, have a better chance of completing an 8-week exercise program than they do about changing their whole life from here until the end of time and all eternity. If you say to yourself, I'm changing everything about me, I'm never going to eat like this again, I'm going to work out every day for the rest of my life, you'll be done in a week.
Yep.
But if you give yourself a realistic goal and you say, I'm going to work out for 8 weeks,
Right.
you can do that, because before you know it, week 1's done, week 2 is done. You're like, I'm cruising. I'm almost halfway through with this thing. And then boom. And when you set a goal for yourself, like let's say working out for 8 weeks, and you accomplish that goal, you're ready to make another goal and then another goal. And it's these short little spurts that equal a big improvement in your life. And again, instead of saying that this just nebulous, never going to end workout routine or diet that's just like in the future and you don't know when it's going to, start or stop or anything like that, when you set a goal, that 6-week, that 8-week workout routine, you can complete that without a problem.
Absolutely. One other thing people should keep in mind, which will just encourage people more, is when you lose body fat and you're exercising, that means that you're probably, focusing on eating enough protein, and you're working out with weights. You're actually building muscle as well and hydrating the muscle. So sometimes people actually, not only are they losing body fat, but they're building muscle. I do believe you can, not I do believe, I've seen it in 30 years of practice. You can lose body fat and build muscle at the same time. Now, when you're trying to build muscle and the calories are high, you're not going to burn a lot of body fat unless you're generally, or you're really young and you're a genetic wonder. But when people say, it's only 20 pounds, let's say, you may have lost the equivalent of 23 or 24 pounds, but you put a few pounds of muscle along the way. So it's getting closer to that 25-pound mark than 20. And you're going to look significantly different.
And that's what's something that people need to remember. It's not just about the number on the scale. It's about how you look, right? Because the number on the scale, as you just said, it might not be reflecting all the changes that you're making. Because if you're losing fat and putting on muscle, that weight is fluctuating a little differently than you'd just be, than if you were just losing the fat, right? But if you're looking better in the mirror and seeing a few pounds coming off, that is a great motivation for you right there.
Weight loss it's a body recomposition, and people need to understand that. Now, if somebody's heavy enough or they have enough weight to lose, obviously the scale is going to trend downward. But that is just a part of looking, because at the end of the day, if there was no scales, if we didn't know what scales were, like it was never made up, we wouldn't care what we would weigh. We would care about what the mirror, the camera,
How you look and how you feel.
yes. And so many, and again, not to beat up on the women, because anybody knows I beat up on men all the time on the show, but women are the worst when it comes to that scale weight. And I feel bad for them, because it screws with them. So,
But again, it's about how you look,
at the body.
it's about how you feel, and people shouldn't be afraid to take photos through their journey, because sometimes it's hard to tell how you looked last week versus how you look this week, but a photo is a really good comparison. Try to get it in like the same style clothing, the same kind of light, and look at those photos. And I bet you after 4, 5, 6 weeks, you will notice a difference if you're really staying strict to that new routine that you set for yourself.
Absolutely. I'm happy you said that, because a lot of times people don't pay attention to that, and lighting, the time of day, and even the color. Like, so let's say if a woman takes pictures, in the privacy of her own home with a bra and underwear on, just the color of a bra and underwear difference can make you look different.
Right.
So when you do these progress pictures, make sure that it's 12 o'clock, actually try to go in a place in your home where the sun isn't coming out, because there'll be cloudy days, there'll be sunny days. So pick a spot where there's no influence of the outside light. No one knows better about lighting than Nick Skolnick, right?
I mean, I'm sure there are a few people who know more lighting than me, but yes, I understand what you're saying.
But either lighting, and use the same bra and underwear for a guy, board shorts or whatever. And those will really tell you what's working or not, because you may step on the scale and you might be up 2 pounds, but you take a picture and the muscles are more hydrated and you're fuller and the veins are popping out, and you say, shit, I look better 2 pounds heavier. So progress pictures are huge, as long as they're done appropriatly.
Sure, of course.
Same clothes, same time of day,
Yeah.
and not after 3, can't be like after the 4th. Yes. Morning is the best before you eat anything, but yes.
The other thing I wanted to mention was that people should have a tiered goal system, right? And so you shouldn't just set one goal. I'm going to lose 25 pounds, and if I don't, I'm a loser. It can be, I'm going to lose 15, maybe I'll lose 20, and if I really go hard, I'll lose 25. But give yourself a few different options so that no matter where you land, you still feel like you've accomplished something. Now, don't make an option no pounds. Of course, you want to, if there's weight to lose, you want to lose that weight. If there's muscle to gain, you want to put on some muscle. But don't be an absolutist when it comes to the goal that you set for yourself. Give yourself a range for that goal so that you have the ability to go to the higher end of that range if you really work super hard. But you also want to reward yourself if you've done a moderate job, because this is just one cycle of your workout routine. And then you can work a little harder next time and a little harder next time, especially if you're just starting out. You want to be realistic about your goals, because people tend to feel really defeated if they set a lofty goal and then don't achieve that goal, and then they just give up. And we don't want people giving up. We want this to be the beginning of a long journey of health and wellness for people.
One other thing to think about, you just made me think of something, Nick, and I think we've touched on this before, and I know we'll touch on it 100 more times over the next couple of years, is unfortunately, there's a lot of people in the industry of fitness, because we can't reach everybody, right? And fitness coaches and nutrition coaches, and now everybody does it online and stuff. Some of them are confused. And people go to them thinking because they're in shape or whatever, they're going to be able to help them. There's an other side to that coin. If you, for 2, 3 weeks, are losing, and it's not that edema that we spoke about in the beginning of this, if you're down 3 pounds and then you're down another 3 and then you're down another 4 pounds, that is going to backfire on you. So now what we would suggest them do, Nick, is to eat more food.
Well, and this is something I just
And
wanted to talk about.
they get excited about that, but that's gonna backfire, and they're gonna slow the metabolic rate, and they're gonna gorge themselves. So, and then you can have a coach that doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. Great job, Nick. Great job, Jane. Meanwhile, they don't realize, and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe, but they're setting them up for being fat as when Thanksgiving comes.
Well, because I wanted to ask you about crash diets, because this is something people are going to say like, oh my God, it's 8 weeks till the summer. I'm just going to starve myself for the next 8 weeks, and that's how I'm going to get into shape.
You're robbing your body of precious muscle mass. You're lowering hormones. It downregulates your thyroid, right? So your thyroid, the master gland in your body, will downregulate. But this crash dieting, the worst thing it does is really downregulates people's what's called sex hormones. And that's not me being sarcastic. These are the hormones that are very important for health, healthy metabolism, healthy sex drive, hair growth, muscle growth, and all those things.
So you're just messing with so much stuff by doing that.
And if you keep on doing that, because there's the old saying, Nick, right? What goes up must come down, and vice versa. When you crash diet like that and you suppress all those hormones, eventually you're going to get hungry and you're going to start to eat. So now you have this
rebound weight. Now all of a sudden you're gaining weight because you're eating like a lunatic.
Correct. But now you're gaining weight, Nick, on suppressed metabolism and suppressed hormones. Tell me how that's going to shake out for you. And then what happens? You balloon up and you read some other fucking article or you listen to some more on the internet and you're like, aha, that's what happened last time. I didn't do this. I didn't stop eating, I don't know, whatever's the flavor of the month is. And then they go into that same process again. And it's another new form of crash dieting or food restriction. And then they lose weight and then they put it back on. And that's what's called yo-yo dieting, you know? So yes, to slow their metabolic rate down, they'll lower their hormones. And some women, if they get older, men, this can happen too, they're gonna lose bone mass. And you cannot, at a certain age, you cannot put that back.
Yeah, so you're playing with fire if you're doing that.
I mean, men, I think every man would like to have a full set of hair, but men can kind of grow a goatee and shave their head and kind of look cool unless their skin looks like mine and they got this big white cue ball of a head. But I never met a woman that wants to lose her hair. But a lot of these women that I've worked with and, you know, heard about, when they do crash dieting, they start losing clumps of hair.
Not good.
Yeah, so you wanna be 5 pounds lighter on the beach and no one's kind of checking you out anyway, it's all for you to lose clumps of hair? I don't think that that's a good look or a good idea. That's called stupidity.
So, and not only the crash dieting, people have to remember that, you know, they need to recover as well, right? So it's about maintaining, you know, a reasonably healthy diet, exercising, but you can't just be doing 2-3 hours of cardio every day trying to crush yourself and make this 8 weeks into an unrealistic period where you put yourself into a position where you're not recovering, where you're overworked, where your body is going into some kind of, you know, like crisis mode, right? Where it's shutting recovery down. You're, you know, like you said, if women aren't having their menstrual cycle, if, you know, you get a cut and your body isn't healing as quickly as it was before, if you're constantly sore, you might be just putting yourself into, you know, a really bad situation because you're working yourself too hard.
I hope you all just paid attention to a word that Nick just said. He used the word crisis. And Nick, that was the best word you could have used, because when you're in that situation and you're doing this fuckery, your body is actually in crisis. Now, you're losing weight and you're working out and you're eating asparagus and chicken breast, so you don't think so. But when you're restricting your body like that and you're beating it up daily with exercise and now your sleep's being compromised, your body is literally in crisis. Now, when your body is in crisis, Nick, your body will produce a hormone called cortisol, which is a stress hormone. When your body outputs cortisol in the beginning, you get a high. You actually feel good from high cortisol levels. But eventually, over time, those high cortisol levels will burn out your adrenal glands and you will fucking take a nosedive. So a lot of people are in crisis for weeks and months and they don't know it. And again, ladies are the worst with falling victim to this. Now, I want to say one other thing in this topic. You've got to be paying attention to people that are in your age group, that look and feel the way you want to. If you're a 40-year-old woman or a 45-year-old woman and you're starting to get premenopausal, or you're a guy, so he's starting to lose his hair and having a little bit of erectile dysfunction, and now you're all motivated to get in shape, and you listen to some 21-year-old girl in her parents' basement apartment telling you to drink cucumber juice for fucking 2 weeks straight. This is not a good idea because that 21-year-old girl, she can get away with drinking cucumber juice for 2 weeks. She'll stop eventually. She'll probably be eating donuts and not let you know about it, okay? But these people are hungry for success and for results, and they're desperate, and they're gonna follow the advice of somebody who's young, dumb, and is got a resilient body because of the beauty of age.
Yeah.
So when you're looking for health and diet information, you gotta go to people that kind of have lived what you've been living or in the age group.
All right, so let's, on a positive note,
Yeah.
give me a couple things that people can do if they've decided that, yes, they're going to make this change. They're going to take these next 8 weeks and try to get themselves into a little bit of a better position for the summer, right? And they're going to start doing strength training through the week and a little bit of cardio. Let's talk about their dietary changes. What are a couple quick things that they can do immediately to help themselves get into a better place with their weight and with the way they look and feel?
I kind of like minimal things to the diet in the beginning, like low-hanging fruit, right? Like stop putting sugars in your coffee. You know, if you're putting whipped cream on the top of your oatmeal, take the whipped cream off. Like
the easy stuff. We all know, we don't want to admit it, but we know there are things in our diet that we're doing that maybe we get them once a week, but we shouldn't be doing it every day.
When people think about diet, Nick, they only seem to think about what they're putting in their mouth as far as with a fork or a knife or a spoon. They don't think about the drinks, right? So
and we've talked about this before.
Yes.
The sugary drinks are killing you.
Right. So that first week, I would say just ramp up your exercise and just start with the bullshit things that you're putting in your diet.
Soda, the sugar in the coffee, the Gatorade, whatever it is, get it out.
Now, if you're somebody who's putting 5 sugars in your coffee, you don't want to go from 5 to none. So maybe you do 3, or maybe you do half, you know, some artificial sweetener and titrate it down.
Sure.
But if you just look at your diet and you're honest with yourself from food and drink, and you just take out the bullshit, and just start to train harder, or maybe add a day or 10 minutes to your cardio program, or start a cardio program, and you will see a major change.
Again,
from
slowly ramping up to the best you, right?
Yes.
So week 1, again, take the sugar out of the coffee, stop with the sugary drinks, maybe cut the desserts down to not every day, 1 or 2 days, right? That's week 1. Week 2, maybe try to just have a healthy breakfast every day, right? Week 2, take out the bacon, egg, and cheese, take out the bagel with cream cheese every morning, and try something healthier week 2 for breakfast. And each week, try something different in that diet.
Right.
Maybe week 3, you take a couple of your lunches and you turn them into salads, maybe. You know, something like that, right? Now, and people also have to remember that they do need to be getting protein.
Yes.
Right? Tell us a little bit about what people should be thinking about when it comes to protein when they're changing their diet around.
Yeah, I mean, look.
And we've talked a lot about this.
Yes. The jury is out which way is better to eat as far as 6 meals a day or 2 meals a day. It really seems that it all comes out in the wash. I personally, Nick, I feel better with at least 4 meals a day. I can eat a shitload of calories, and if I try to eat that all in 1 sitting or 2 sittings, I feel very bloated for many hours to come. That being said, in each meal, there should be a form of protein, and that's going to be to get the amino acids to facilitate all the training that you're doing, turning over that tissue. But protein has it breaks down slow in the body. And what it does is, whether you're putting carbs or fats in that meal, and if you haven't seen the carbs and fats video, you should check that out. It will slow down the release of those. So you get in the amino acids, but it kind of coagulates with everything, and you get like a slow provided you're not, eating donuts. If you're eating donuts, a chicken breast ain't gonna
Listen,
save you.
you got to be realistic with yourself. You know if you're eating garbage.
Right.
If you're eating donuts every day, that's not a way to get to this goal. If you're banging down a gallon of ice cream every night, that's not a way to get to this goal.
Right.
You know what you're doing. No one has to tell you. You don't need a nutritionist to come in and say you shouldn't have ice cream. We all know that. Again, you want to have it once, twice a week even, there's probably room for that if you're earning it. But you know if you're putting that garbage in your body.
Right. But, people will shit on potatoes. I actually eat potatoes, especially the white potatoes. They're like, oh, it's high glycemic, blah, blah. When you pair it with protein, especially, even plant protein, because most plant proteins like beans and lentils are coupled with a lot of fiber and will slow it down. But if you have a white potato, which I do a lot, and you have the skin on it, more fiber, and then you pair it with protein, it slows down the release of that glucose. When people will talk about it's the glycemic index and all this bullshit. Those studies or those markers are equated for on their own. No one just sits down and eats yes, no one sits down and eats a baked potato unless they're poor and starving to death. But, it's usually a potato, hopefully maybe a green vegetable in there, more fiber, and then the piece of chicken or turkey or steak or fish. And so you're getting the muscle building amino acids, but it's really kind of coagulating with everything. And now there's an intravenous drip of glucose into your system instead of this big wonk. And then the blood sugar goes up, pancreas produces insulin, you get reactive hypoglycemia. And if you keep on doing that, you become diabetic or fat. So getting that protein, like you said, is very important. I think for people that are training hard, over the age of 30, 35, where muscle loss becomes more of an issue, I'm saying at least 3 times a day, whether that's a protein shake, quality protein.
And I was just going to say, yeah, just to give people like some examples, right? Protein shake, hard-boiled eggs.
Yeah.
Grilled chicken.
Yeah.
Steak.
Yep.
Other meats.
Turkey.
Bison. Okay.
Buffalo.
Yep.
Anything that has I always say, if it runs, flies, or swims, or fucks, it's a good protein.
So fish as well, right? So we're talking about like your salmons and your tunas and different things like that, grilled fish, swordfish, things like that.
And also too, protein is very satiating. You don't absorb all, everybody now is talking about this, but this is old news. Protein's very thermic. It's got a high thermogenesis rate, and you don't, because protein is so hard to combust into energy, you only get on average, about 70 calories. So out of 100 calories. So like if you eat 100 calories of chicken breast, your body only really sees 70 calories because the protein is so hard to uncouple that 30 calories is burned off in the digestion process. So yeah, dollar for dollar, protein, especially when you have to eat it and chop it up, not drinking it, is going to be the dieter's best friend for a myriad of different reasons.
Okay. All right. Let's talk a little bit about training. And I guess we're getting a little long-winded in this episode, but I do want to touch on this.
Okay.
People are getting into, let's say, the next 8 weeks, they want to start a new routine. They're going to be working out a little bit. Is it better to be doing full body workouts 3 times a week? Should they be targeting different areas of their body each day so that they get recovery? Where does that land?
2, 3 full body workouts, and then maybe some supplemental cardio is a great place to start. If somebody is more advanced, they have a little bit more time in their hands, breaking up the body and maybe like an upper, lower, or push-pull legs with supplemental cardio is probably going to be better for that person because they can do a little bit more volume for that muscle group or those muscle groups.
So a total newbie should start with like full body, half hour, full body, 2 to 3 times a week.
Correct.
It's not a big investment of time.
No.
We're talking about an hour and a half in a week.
Yep. Major lifts like squats, lunges, push-ups, bench press, pull downs or pull-ups, just the compound lifts. If you can do that 2, 3 times a week and fill in the gaps, in a perfect world, I would love to see most people exercising 5 to 6 days a week, right? So if they did 2 or 3 days of strength training and 2 or 3 days of cardio, clean diet, adequate sleep, boom, they're golden. Now, if you have somebody who's younger or they want to build a little bit more muscle, they don't have as much fat to lose, then you can maybe start to favor a little bit more of the strength training and maybe, because you're going to get a cardio workout from strength training. People don't realize that, especially if you're moving and you're doing supersets or circuits, you're going to get cardio effect from that as well. So maybe you can do 3 to 4 exercises of exercise sessions, I should say, of strength training with maybe 2 supplemental cardio sessions. Or some people are really super motivated, provided they eat enough food, Nick, they can do doubles, you know, to get in shape quick, because that's what this video is about, right? To get in shape for the summer, they can get up before work, let's say, do some cardio, 30 minutes, fasted, maybe a cup of coffee, boom. Then they work out at lunchtime or at the end of the day. If they're really motivated and they have good recovery and their nutrition is adequate, they can do that. I wouldn't think most people wouldn't want to do that for long term. There are diehards that live out their life like that every single day. They're probably not listening to this video if they're already doing that. Yeah. Maybe they are, and they are, thank you. But you can do that, and you can do that as well. But I like a good mixture of strength training and cardio. Right now on the internet, there's this push, and it comes in and out, you know. Next year, we'll be talking about other things and debunking stupidity next year. But right now, it's like cardio is, you know, stupid, and why would you ever do it? And that's the flavor of the month, and that is just plain dumb.
I think a balanced approach with all this stuff is going to be, you know, slow and steady is going to win that race, right? You want to, you know, combine the cardio with the strength training, and even, you know, low impact cardio, just walking is something. We're not talking about, you don't have to go for a 5-mile run to say you did cardio.
Right. And I'm just going to say one thing to the ladies out there again, because again, they beat themselves up the most. If you're premenopausal, if you're postmenopausal, and you're sarcopenic, meaning they've have the beginning stages of osteoporosis, you really gotta like put cardio at the end. It's rest, nutrition, and strength to build that body up, because you're basically decaying. And maybe even just in taking cardio and putting it away for right now, unless it's a real light walk with your husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. But like that should be like maybe not even done right now, because there's women that are in this problem already and they want to get in shape. So they just start cardioing, and that is only going to make the problem worse. Cardio is a breakdown. And so cardio is catabolic in nature, which means break down, and strength training is anabolic, which means build back up. So it's really kind of, that's why it's a very nuanced question. For the average person, about 30%, 50% cardio, 50% strength training. And if you're under muscled, you're sarcopenic, favoring more of that strength training. It can be done rapidly where you're getting the heart rate up and you're getting a cardio response, but it's really going to be dependent.
Now, something you said in a previous episode, and it really stuck with me, and I wanted just to revisit that, was that building up muscle is like having a suit of armor around your bones, and it gives you, you know, a little added protection if you take a fall or if you have an injury. That muscle is protecting those bones, and it's just so important for people as they get older to build up that suit of armor for anything you're doing. It can just be, you know, the difference between having a major injury and having something that you can get over quickly.
Being thin, chasing a scale, whether it's for the summer or a wedding dress, you really can run into bad health problems, and they can be deadly.
Now, another thing that people have to realize is that increased elevated stress levels cause more fat to build up around your gut, right?
We got to do a whole video just on cortisol.
So people, you know, paired with diet changes and exercise, people just have to de-stress as well. Because if you're always stressed out, if you're always on edge, if you're always tense, you're not in a place where your body is ready to make the changes that are necessary to do this 8-week transformation that we're talking about.
Yeah, your body is smarter than you are. So if you with it. It's gonna with you back, and it's gonna store. And we would all love to store the fat from stress that you just talked about, Nick, in our face. I know I would, because I have such a narrow face. I'd love to have a little fat face, okay? But it's
Personally, it goes right to the love handles, or
gonna
it goes
go,
right to the
yeah,
gut, right?
yeah, because that's
The places you don't want.
yeah, that's our center. That's where all our organs are, and the body's trying to protect itself from our stupidity of over dieting and over exercising.
Again, we're getting towards the end here, but I did want to mention or see if you had any advice for people, like red flags that they should look out for, especially people who haven't done the dieting or the exercise. How do they know when they're pushing it too hard, when they're going too deep into it for like right away?
Okay. Orthopedically, sore elbows, sore joints, knees, backs hurting, feet are killing you. That's going to be a product of overdoing the training, right? So if your body's screaming at you, provided you're doing the exercise.
I mean, a little soreness a day or two later is normal.
Soreness is in the muscle is good. Soreness and hurt in the joint, the capsules of the joint, or if you're walking for 2 hours and you're getting all chafing in the middle of your legs and now you're going to get an infection or something like that, that's not good. So orthopedically, if joints are hurting you and they're just not recovering, different from the muscle. If I'm doing a bicep curl, Nick, and the bicep is sore, good. If my elbow starts to kill me here, something's wrong.
Right.
It may be an
Bad technique.
exactly, or just too much training.
Okay.
I'm not recovering. So that's going to be from a training end, and for a dieting, it's going to be the major ones. We've talked about this in another video, I believe. Cold extremities when it's not cold out. So cold hands and feet or nose, because of the furthest things from your heart. Clumps of hair falling out, loss of period. Constipation's a big one. That's Mike Lynch's barometer. If I've ever dieted for something, I know when I need to increase my calories, because I literally won't poop for a day or two.
Okay.
That's my metabolism slowing down. My transient time and what's called the retention time in your intestines all starts to slow down. If you find that you go to work, do your exercise, and then you just want to sit on your ass, actually your body is actually making you move less, because you're starving it and you're over exercising. So what it will do is it will do what you have scheduled, but then it will, your body is funny. It will make you park. You may not fidget as much. You know, I'm somebody who I always shake my leg. When I'm dieting for too long, my leg doesn't shake anymore. There's these little tiny subtle things. Like I said, lack of sex drive. For a man, not a strong erection. You know, for a woman, they may feel like they're getting a little, you know, Sahara desert down there. You know, these are all little things. Constantly obsessing about food is another thing that you're overdoing it. So those are like the big ones that you see.
Okay.
Or where you just don't want to do it anymore, where you don't want to exercise. Now what you were psyched to do 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, now has become a chore that you just don't want to do.
Now, I think people need to remember that environment is going to trump motivation every time. And we have a video on motivation, right? We all know that the motivation myth is real, right? But set yourself up for success. Prep some meals for yourself to make sure that you have healthy meals ready to go. Carve out a little space in your house where you can do some workouts. Don't buy 7 pints of ice cream next week. Don't bring in all the low-fat like cookies and all the bullshit. Stop doing it. Though if you don't want to slip, don't go on the ice, you know? Change yourself, change these routines, change what you buy at the supermarket, and create habits and patterns that are sustainable.
I love it. I love that. If you don't want to slip, don't go on the ice.
All right, so I just wanted to give people, like we just said, you know, my call to action for the viewers this week is to stop bringing the garbage into your house, create a little space for yourself to get some of these workouts done. Because for some people, the added time that it takes to drive to the gym, go do the thing, shower up, come home, get changed, do it, it takes a 20-minute workout and it turns it into an hour and a half, 2 hours, and that can be unsustainable for people. So in the beginning, if you don't have a lot of time, you can just do simple body weight exercises in a small part of your house, and you can see results from that. So I challenge people, carve out that little space in your house to make a little room for yourself, and also change what you're getting at the supermarket. Not everything, not all at once, but again, if you're getting iced coffee at the store and it's sweetened, get the unsweetened iced coffee, right? If you're buying sweets for the week, get just sweets for the weekend, not the week. Try something like that, and I think people will see a lot of difference.
Right. And they could also walk the treadmill and just, we have enough videos now where they can just binge watch some of our videos. All right.
That's right. Well, this will be, yeah, I mean, I believe this episode will be our 6-month mark. So they've got about 26 episodes to watch now.
Congratulations, Nick.
And congratulations
It's been
to
a
you
pleasure.
too. Yeah,
It's been a pleasure.
It's going well.
Yeah.
Any last notes or tips from you that you want to leave with people?
Oh, yeah. I think, you hit them all. Is just take it nice and slow and steady. You generally, especially the further you away from your goal, you'll have to do very small changes to see big results. And as you hit a plateau, add something. And just for an example, if you're doing 3 days of cardio, 30 minutes, don't go from 30 to a minute to an hour. Do 35 minutes.
Right.
Times 3. That's an extra 15 minutes, and people don't see it like that. And see how that goes. Take it slow and steady. And here's the thing too. Today's video was about getting in shape in 8 weeks, right? But guess what? If you do it right, guess what? The 9th week comes, and then you lose another pound or 2, build another pound of muscle. And then the 10th, and then, while everybody's starting to screw off and they burnt out midsummer, you're doing it the right way because you're listening to Nitro Nick and Mike Lynch. And now you're looking better at the end of the summer. And most people fall off a cliff at the end of the summer. It's like my biggest calls for being a trainer, Nick, are in September.
Really?
Yes, because people, they're now, especially in the New York area, the summer's over. Kids are going back to school. They're stressed. They're school shopping. They just start eating like assholes. And the barbecues and the end of the summer vacations. So if you do it right, this is a kickoff for you to do it the right way. And then, you watch our videos around Thanksgiving on how to get that extra 5 pounds off or something like that. But if you do it right, this is the motivation to get you started. If you do it right, it will be fit for life.
And again, if you missed your New Year's resolution, if you made it all the way to the winter without doing this stuff, who cares? Your new life starts today, right now. Forget motivation. Make the changes today. Start a new routine today. When you go food shopping, change what you buy today. Go and walk today. Do a workout today. You can do it right now.
Absolutely. What do they say? That today's the first day of the rest of your life.
All right, Mike, well, thank you for all the information, and thank you all for joining us today. I know it was a longer episode, but I hope you got a lot of great information out of it, and I can't wait to hear about the 8-week transformations that start right now for all of our viewers. Have a great day.
Bye-bye. Please hit the like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so you don't miss any content in the future.